What's up everyone, I'm ImSidVicious and today I'm breaking down my Hierophant Ice Spear Totem build for 3.27 Keepers of the Flame. Last league this build was a success and it will absolutely carry this league as well, since there were 0 patch note changes that affected this build. It's my personal favorite build for league start because you can start farming invitations early, do carry services, and also scale quickly to uber bosses. Last league, I also made a tanky variation of this build that handled T17s like a beast. The build is beginner and budget friendly. It doesn't require a headhunter or mage blood, and with a simple gem swap to freezing pulse, it's also a smooth mapper. I try to be as detailed as possible with my guides, and I have several VODs that you can check out to see how the build performed. So let's dive in. Starting off, let's talk about the pros and cons of this build. This build has massive scaling potential, dealing very high damage early on, and it evolves into a carry level service build with some investment. It's amazing for all invitation, and this includes the Feared, which is getting an update, which now includes Cyrus in the Incarnation of Fear in 3.27. In this guide, I also provide both the League Start version and the Tanky version. I'll primarily cover the League Start version so you understand the build, and then I'll show you a quick look of the Tanky version. Now this allows you to try out different farming strategies, such as, League Start version, you could farm essences, bossing, which also includes ubers and altar farming, and then you could transition into the Tanky version, which can handle T17s, juice deliriums, etc, etc. Now for the most part, you can safely run most red tier map modifiers, and then for T17 modifiers, there are a couple that are annoying. In terms of budget, the League Star version is fairly accessible. You can accomplish a lot with minimal investment, and then thanks to auto-targeting totems, it just makes it very comfortable and very hands-off playstyle, and this could be very good for beginners. Let's talk about the cons of this build. In terms of the League Star version, the build is not particularly tanky. If you're careless, heavy hits will take you out. You're not completely paper, you can take some hits. You just gotta be careful around some bosses, and you might have to learn a couple mechanics. And then also, this build requires gem swapping for mapping, which requires freezing pulse, and then for bossing ice spear. And towards the end, this is not so much of an issue because you'll have so much damage that you could just use freezing pulse. And then for the tanky version, the build can get expensive and you have to get a couple items to make it work. And this could be a pro or a con. It could extend your league if you want to try the other version of the build. It will definitely help you push out certain content. Alright, let's jump straight into the POB and talk about some of the ways 3.27 changes some of the build. Starting with our gem setup, our main skill is Ice Spear or Freezing Pulse, which we use for mapping. And we link this with multiple totems, added cold damage, greater multiple projectiles, hypothermia, and increased crit damage. We can hot swap the Ice Spear and Freezing Pulse when we want to switch between mapping and bossing. Next up is our Cold Snap setup. I get asked a lot of questions about this, and this setup is mainly used for bossing or any difficult enemy you come across. Cold Snap is our primer skill, and we use it to get our Bone Chill effect on our target. Bone Chill increases our chill effect and damage taken from cold sources, which is what our build does. And on top of that, we also have Unbound Ailment, which scales the effect of our non-damaging ailments like Chill. So basically more damage. And then we also put Culling Strike just for some quick executions. Another setup to explain is our curse setup. Once we have anathemas, we can run 4 curses using Arcanist brand. So we run Elemental Weakness, Frostbite, Sniper's Mark, and Punishment. Punishment will be our last curse that we put on, and early on you might have some socket pressure, so you might not be able to use Punishment early, but as soon as we get the staff and we could 5-link our staff, that's when we add Punishment. Essentially, with our curses, we get a massive resistance penetration and damage boost on anything we curse, and we use this curse primarily on bosses or those super annoying rares or essence monsters. Now in terms of movement, this is a personal preference, but I like to run Leap Slam and Frost Blink, and I connect Leap Slam with momentum and faster attacks. For me, this is a very fun thing to do, and it's very solid for zooming around as well. You can switch this with Flame Dash or any other movement skill you like, and this would open up more sockets. In terms of aura, our aura setup is very simple. We just run Eternal Blessing with Zealotry, just simply more damage. This gives us crit chance and more spell damage without mana reservation. Also, we gotta talk about it, but early on I like to run Cast on Death Portal, which is nice. If you like to like me, I like to run straight into packs sometimes and just run straight into things. And this is a nice way to save time. It's a good time save for mapping, just in case if you're doing a big map and you randomly get one shot early on when you don't have enough resistance, etc. Once you transition to the Tanky setup, this is not an issue anymore. And also in the very high end, it's not an issue since you're just nuking everything. Now let's talk about some optional setups. These gem setups are primarily for your playstyle or if you want to make changes. So in 3.27, there's one particular interesting gem that I want to test out. This is the Wall of Force. We could do certain things to make this gem work, so it's something that I need to test, and I'll probably put it in an update video on what I find. First up, we also have the Arrogance setup with Herald of Ice. We can use this to get our Pain Attunement working and squeeze out some extra DPS early on while we are not low life and we don't have Coward's Legacy. This is just an easy way to get ourselves to low life. You gotta be cautious here though, because now you're gonna go into the 0 HP build. For some layers of defense, you can use the classic Cast When Damage Taken and Mortal Call. It's just a solid damage reduction. Or you can use Arcane Cloak with automation. One thing you need to be warned about with automation is that it might mess you up in certain boss fights. For myself in particular, I like to manually cast Arcane Cloak because I can read the boss abilities well enough to time them. If you're bossing and you see your mana disappearing for Arcane Cloak, just know it's your automation triggering this. And then for utility and more damage, you can just use a bunch of Vol skills like Vol Righteous Fire or Vol Haste. This is going to give you a massive damage boost. Alright, so I'm going to talk about the leveling process next and transition to the gear. That way you can see how to prioritize gear from start to the end game. First, I want to show you on the top right, you will see different loadouts that let you preview how the pathing evolves. Now you can switch these loadouts to see how to level the character and what your goals are as you progress. I also have a VOD of my SSF run, and I will be doing a new test run as soon as I'm done with this video and it's uploaded. Also, I'm working on a loot filter. If you want to follow my loot filter, you can go to the link in the description, hit the follow on the loot filter, and a quick disclaimer, I might have to make a new one a few hours before league start because I'm not sure when Filter Blade updates for the new league. Starting with the campaign, in Act 1, we're rushing to Ancestral Bond. We want to play the Totem Fantasy, so let's just do it from the beginning. In Act 2, we're picking up the Fire Mastery that increases damage against ignited enemies. Act 3 is when we go for Elemental Overload. I also like to pick up the Recovery Nodes that gives us 50 life per second. It's nice quality of life as you are running through the campaign. And after that, it's pretty much straightforward. Just, follow the loadouts, follow the tree, take all the notes to help you along the way, and you will be cruising till the end. You can do the Ascendancy around the end of Act 3 or in Act 4. I recommend taking Pursuit of Fate for the extra totem first. It just gives us straight up more damage. For the Ascendancy Order, I like to take Pursuit of Fate, then Arcane Blessing, which is more damage with Arcane Surge, and you will have it up permanently with totems. You can also drop Arcane Surge from your gem setup after you get this Ascendancy. After that, I go for Conviction of Power. You will mainly see the benefit of this once you get Anathema's Ring and you have your curse setup going. This is very strong for early game bossing, and then Ritual of Awakening is very strong for endgame once you have more totems you can summon later on. Now, I did look at some of the Bloodline Ascendancies, and they're not competing with our current 4 Ascendancies, so you don't have to go out of your way to do them. But to talk about some of the Bloodlines, there are some interesting ones like the Bitter Heresy from Lycia. This could be really strong for single target damage paired with Bottled Fate Flask. And then maybe we can do some things for our Tanky Setup by going Precursor's Release. T17 map's biggest annoying mod is action speed, and I just don't know if it's fully worth it yet. In the notes section, you will see our full progression guide. This covers what weapons to look for, the stats, everything. Anything with increased spell damage or added damage to spells is like solid. Since we're leveling with Holy Flame Totem all the way, you want to prioritize fire damage. I have some additional notes if you want to speed up, if you want to speed run a bit by doing the Ranger Mule and doing Leap Slam. I cover this more in the VOD, and you can watch that for more info. You have to do a bunch of weapon swapping essentially, but if you want to keep it simple, just use Scepters and you're good to go. In Act 2, you are picking up Herald of Thunder, and in Act 3, you grab Flammability, and that's basically all you need to compete in the campaign. Make sure to grab the crafting recipe in Solaris level 2 near the waypoint. There should be a side room. This recipe gives the added fire damage spell and will carry your damage, and all you need is 4 transmutes to craft this. Finally, it's time to talk about all the gear, and it's easier by simply going through the early mapping progression till the end game. I fully like to switch to Ice Spear and Freezing Pulse setup when I have Soul Mantle and Kikuzaru. All you need is any Soul Mantle and you can just 4-link it yourself. And Kikuzaru is used to reduce the downside of Soul Mantle. Then we like to pick up Lavinga's Mana Flask, which just helps with our mana sustain to be able to cast our totems without any worry. Self-Flagellation is a really good boost to our damage early on because Soul Mantle is going to stack a lot of curses on us, and this is just going to give us more damage based on how much curses we have. You can also start looking for some Scepters and look for the stats that I have listed in the POB notes so you know what to look for. All you need is 2 or 3 mods and you are pretty much good to go for majority of your mapping. Anathema's Ring is going to be your first expensive item. Early on in the league start, it's worth roughly 20 chaos to 55 chaos for the first few days. And that's just an estimate, so don't hold me on that. For the most part, this setup will take you to Eater and Exarch with just a 4-link. And if you want, you can farm Blight once you have 50 points or so in the Atlas tree. I have a video on how to farm your first Divine with Blight. For mid progression, this is where you want to start spending some currency, and you will need some levels as well so you can use cluster jewels. Our primary setup is to use any large cluster jewel with 8 passives, ideal or more, with Prismatic Heart for more damage and some resistance. And then pick up 2 medium clusters. First one is going to be Eye to Eye and Repeater, and then the other one is going to be Sleepless Sentries and Ancestral Echo. This one's going to be the more expensive one. And around this mid progression, you can buy yourself a corrupted soul mantle and use tainted currency to 6-link it yourself. Let me just add a clip right here so you can see how to do this. Okay, so I'm just gonna show a quick video on how to corrupt a soul mantle to get into 6-link. So you're gonna need like a bunch of tainted fusings, a bunch of tainted jewelers, and chromatic. So the first thing is going to be the jewelers, but you see how we only have 2 sockets right now. We don't want to use it right away because you don't know if it's gonna go up or down, right? So you see how it went down. So what we do is we come to the bench and we type in socket, and then it says 4 sockets, and you see it takes 10 jewelers and 10 vol orbs. So this way we get 4 sockets. Okay, and once we have 4 sockets, we come over here and then we use a tainted jeweler. See how we lost one? Once we lose one, we have to just go through this process again and again. There you go, we got 4. It's gonna bring them with me, so that way we could just do this a little faster. Boom. There's so many people logging in. Okay, we lost it again. Socket. Can I do this while I'm here? Yeah, I can. Boom. It's a, you know, hey, I'm trying to get rid of all my bad RNG here. So here we got 5, and then we do it again. 6. Okay, now we have 6 sockets. It takes a few tries, and it's probably the best way to go about it. And then we go to link. We type in link. Make sure you type in link because you can really mess this up. And this one is a lot cheaper. It's 5 fusings and 5 vol orbs. So you do this step. And then here is the 4 link. And then once you have the link, let me go grab the tainted fusings. So early on, tainted fusings are going to be pretty expensive, but this is still going to be the cheapest way to 6-link most of the time. If you get like really good RNG, it's going to be even cheaper. So here we have 4 links. We use tainted fusings. We got 5. We use it again. 6-link. There we go. First try with 2 tainted fusings. Usually this is going to be worth about like 100 chaos on like the first day. And then over the course of the week, it will drop down to like 30 chaos. So it's going to be cheaper and cheaper, but you know, just got to be prepped for it. And then the final step is going to be to color it, right? So we're going to use tainted chromatics, right? So we use tainted chromatics, and then we try to get 3 green, 2 blue, and 1 red. Tainted chromatics are nice because okay, well, there you go. We hit it on the second one. These are really nice. You want to color this like after you have 6 sockets because it's just gonna randomly change the colors. Since this is an energy shield base, if you were to just do regular chromatics, it will, you know, favor blue sockets, but with tainted, you have a better chance of getting like green and red, etc. And there you go, 6-link. Back to the gear, and we actually want to do the same process for our annihilating light staff as well. For this, early on, 5-link is all you got to worry about, so you can just use regular jewelers and chromatics and fusings. But if you were to go for the 6 links, you would follow the same steps as you did for the soul mantle. Swapping to the annihilating light can be tricky because you want to buy some high resistance gear, so look for some upgrades in your boots, helmets, and rings. You want to swap out Kikazaru as well and get your curse immunity via the skill tree or curse reduction jewels. Try to also get a decently strong amulet with stats listed in the notes section, or get some resistance to make your life easier. And some of the anointments that I like to run for my amulet are Mark the Prey, Disciple of Slaughter, and Heart of Ice. Also, you can use Hinekora Death Warden tattoos to deal with curse immunity, also any resistance that you are missing. Once you get into the end game, you got some big items to look for. Heat Shiver is just insane damage. You just have to make sure your resistance is solved, so you might have to get a more perfect Annihilating Light and better cluster jewels with some resistance. Coward's Legacy will allow us to be permanently on low light so that we could be using Pain Attunement, which is just a massive damage boost. Rain and Splinter is a nice jewel for some more damage via just having more projectiles. And that goes the same for Dying Sun. This is a flask that gives us more projectile, which in turn gives us more damage. Bottle Fate is just nice for some more damage and crit chance. Sublime Vision, we want the one with Zealotry, which makes us curse immune, so we can drop some of our passive points and some of our jewels we are using. Now the one thing I want to talk about here is that we are getting some changes to uniques, so we could potentially have a Soul Mantle with no downside. Now if this is possible, we don't need this jewel at all, and this could open up some new options. For our cluster jewel, we can also get a 12 passive large cluster with 35% increased effect, 3% cast speed, 4% elemental resistance, and increased damage or some attribute nodes. This is going to be giga damage. Also, another way to boost our damage is going to be Awakened Gems. So of course, we're going to be looking for Awakened GMP, but this is going to be super expensive. But you should be able to pick up the other ones such as Awaken added cold damage and Elemental Focus. Militant Fate with High Templar Dominus is going to be the timeless jewel that you're looking for. You can try to get this with more resistance and totem damage. And finally, for our Watcher's Eye, you want to look into a Zealotry Watcher's Eye with penetration and cast speed. And that's pretty much it for our League Start setup. I did mention the Tanky setup, so I'm going to go over it quickly so you have an idea of what you can expect with the endgame variation of the Tanky build. Again, make sure to check out the loadouts to get an idea of what to aim for. The two main loadouts to look up for are my current setup, which is what I ended with my last league, and the max setup, which will be the higher end setup of the Tanky version. TLDR of what makes the build tanky is through Savalin and high block chance. We have 91 block and 90 spell block. On top of that, we're going to use Progenesis. We're also going to use Verity's Veil to become crit immune, and we changed the tree to basically take some block nodes. And we use the Impossible Escape again to get some more block nodes that are far away. I would highly recommend switching to this setup only after you have Savalin and have some currency saved up. Once you get 90 block and spell block, you can just focus everything on damage, which will primarily come from your cluster jewel and your wand and your amulet. And that pretty much wraps up the League Start video for Ice Spear Totem for 3.27. I have a bunch of videos and VODs you can check out to see what's possible on the build, and I will be doing a new SSF test run, so be on the lookout for that coming soon. You can ask me questions live there or in the comments below. If you like the content, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more. That's it for now, so thanks for watching. I'm ImSidVicious, and I will see you next time. Peace.